Live from the studio of his parents' basement, the Have You Seen It podcast.
Hello and welcome back to the Have You Seen It podcast. My name is Mason Knight. Sitting across from me is the one and only Cash Krause. But before we begin, if you guys could please be sure to smash that like button, comment below, subscribe to the channel, and hit that bell notification as we drop videos here every single day. So with that said, Cash, what are we reviewing today?
Oh, what a treat we have today. A new Western streaming on Netflix.
So we got to talk about that.
That's never good.
No, it's never good. It's never good. But we have to give some respect to Netflix for acquiring some really good film. I mean, we've gone back-to-back weeks now with really good Netflix
They're
films.
good at acquiring films, not good at making films.
Yes. Hence, I said acquire.
Yeah.
Because the filmmaking side of things.
They have a
not
lot of
the
money.
best.
Don't have a lot of talent,
Right?
is the
Which
thing,
could be a big problem.
unfortunately. Yeah.
I've heard a lot of those rich people don't have much talent.
No, actually, none of them do. They're useless. But, yeah, The Power of the Dog streaming on Netflix. Everyone's fucking talking about it. If you're, if you follow movie or television news or anything, they're saying it is a favorite for Best Picture this year. It's starring Benedict Cumberbatch.
Yes.
In what they're saying is the role of a lifetime for him.
Interesting.
The role he was born to play is what they're saying. And he's getting buzz about Best Actor as well. But yeah, new Western directed by Jane Campion, who I have not seen a lot of her work, and she's only done like 6 or 7 films, but every film she's done has been critically acclaimed.
Yeah.
She is the second of 7 women to ever be nominated for Best Director.
Really?
Yeah, there's only been 7 women ever nominated for Best Director. Isn't that
We
crazy?
had one last year.
Yeah, exactly.
Sal?
1 of 7.
Yeah.
Yeah, which is crazy because women are 50% of the population.
They are.
Just something's odd.
I don't know if they're 50% of directors, but hey.
Oh, definitely not. We don't live in that time yet.
Nope.
Yeah. But yes, Power of the Dog. This is such an interesting film. I was very excited to talk about this with you because it does feel like 3 different movies. Starts off
sense.
as a Western, then maybe it gets you thinking of romance. Then by the end, it's a straight up thriller.
Yeah. And a whodunit or what happened.
Well, yeah, it's classic thriller, right? It's very interesting. I really, really enjoyed it. I thought the acting was amazing. I thought where they shot it in New Zealand, but it's set in Montana. I thought they did a really good job of finding a location that.
Bro, some of those wide shots, drone shots, beautiful.
So good.
Absolutely beautiful.
And this is a film that takes its time. It is not hurried by anything. It is, which I love that. It knows exactly what it wants to be, and it's not pushed forward at all. It just takes its time.
Yeah, before we get into the plot, I also have to bring up Kirsten Dunst. Of course, Cumberbatch did a great job, but I thought Kirsten Dunst here knocked it out of the park, man.
Always.
You could see the pain and just like the misery.
God, she looked miserable.
Oh my God. Bro, it was so awkward during that piano scene. Like, I just felt uncomfortable.
Yeah.
And she's just standing there with the governor, and like, she doesn't know what to do. It feels like at any time she could shit herself.
Yeah, it feels like she's so uncomfortable in her own skin.
Yeah.
She's just wants to jump right out of her own body.
Yeah, it made me feel uncomfortable watching it.
That's Kirsten Dunst, dude. She's amazing in everything. I think she's one of the best actors from her generation. She's so fucking good. I mean, go back and watch our Spider-Man review.
That was the thing. How wild was it that we just did the Spider-Mans and now we see, a much more mature Kirsten Dunst.
Absolutely. But this film also has one of my favorites. If this guy is in a film, you can almost guarantee it's going to be good. It's Jesse Plemons.
I knew it. Yeah.
Dude is on fire.
He's phenomenal. He's great in everything that he does. He always brings a new element to every role. Like he's
never the star.
No. But always that perfect piece to every puzzle of the film.
I'm always just shocked how good he is in everything. Like I don't know, he's not talked about enough.
No, he's not.
I mean,
he really is not.
He's very underrated, but he is on he's just fucking on fire. Everything he does, is great.
He's got such a unique look to him, too. Can you believe that guy's only 33 years old?
I think he's just so plain looking. Like, it's...
like
I don't say that... I don't say that in a bad way at all, but he's just... you don't see it coming. When he steps on into the screen, you think he may be just... I don't know. You think his acting may be as plain as he looks, but it's anything but.
Well, I kind of want to go through his list because it's just such a wide range of film. You know, like Game Night was a comedy, which is actually a pretty fun comedy. He played, you know, the weird neighbor guy petting his cat, which was great. And then you go to like Vice, him playing Kurt, and then The Irishman, right? Well, and then Judas and the Black Messiah, Jungle Cruise, Power of the Dog, Antlers.
What blows my mind is he started out... as playing just like a bully in kids' movie. I remember him specifically. The first thing I ever saw him was he was the mean kid in Like Mike.
Like Mike.
He was the bully.
Are you serious? I have not seen that film in 15 years.
He was the bully. And that's what blows my mind because you see him in that and you think, oh, man, he's just probably another child star you never see again. Yeah. You know, he's in one film. But he's stuck with it, man.
That's crazy. You're right. He played Ox.
Yeah. Yeah. He's a dick in it. Yeah. And for sure, when I saw that, I thought, oh, this guy will only be... he'll only be cast as bullies.
Yep.
He'll probably do 3 other films, and,
I know that.
And once he grows up, you know, you'll never see him again. But this is a guy that I don't know. He just kept coming back and back. But yeah, and now he's working with the greatest directors. He was great, and I'm thinking of Ending Things, working with Charlie Kaufman.
Yes,
fucking awesome in that. He's in 2022. He'll be working with Martin Scorsese in Killers of the Flower
Moon. Yes.
I mean, the guy is, yeah, he does a lot of films too, and he's worked with he's worked with Martin Scorsese before. He's worked with Adam McKay. He's the kind of guy everyone wants to work with, I have a feeling.
Yeah,
but yeah, he's great in this. He's George Burbank, aka Fatso, is what his brother constantly calls him. It's brutal.
It's pretty rude.
It's pretty rude, but
his brother Benedict Cumberbatch was such a miserable fuck in this film.
Yeah.
Everything set him off. Everything made him mad. And I like the subtlety of this character and what we slowly start to unravel about who he is and why he's always so upset and who this Bronco person was.
Bronco Henry.
Bronco Henry, yeah.
I would recommend, I say this for a lot, but go into this film knowing nothing at all.
Which you should turn this review off because we're going to spoil everything.
Well, hopefully you've seen the film and now you're
or you tell someone, go in with no knowledge.
Absolutely, yeah, for sure. Because, again, the entire time you're questioning who are these people, what are their motives, you know nothing about them. You're slowly trying to figure out who Benedict Cumberbatch, why he's so angry all the time. But he's not a one-dimensional character.
No.
Right from the very start, you almost feel bad for him. Immediately, you almost feel bad for him because of how closed off he is to everyone. Even his brother, who really only shows him nothing but kindness.
Even him being an asshole the whole time. Yeah. His brother's still pretty cool with him.
Always. Yeah, for sure. But, yeah, it's a great story. And it, like you said, what we were talking about before, it's like until like 20 minutes, until the movie is like 20 minutes left in the film, you're still going like, where is this fucking film going? Like I've enjoyed the journey, but where the fuck is this thing going?
And that's what I was talking about last night on the Fight Companion with you is like, that's how I felt watching it. I enjoyed the process of this film, but leading into the third act, like that's where I was like, where is this going to wrap up? How is this going to end? Because I'm not seeing like a pattern here for anything to feel finalized. And I thought maybe it was going to be one of those art pieces where it was just a slice of life film. Because I knew nothing. I had no context going into this film. But then, you obviously get the reveal of the anthrax and how clever it was. And we got to talk about this Peter. Peter Gordon is a character. The actor is Cody Smit-McPhee. I've seen him in a few other things. But I loved that character as well. And I love this development because there's so many subtle things throughout this film. Like he tells his mom, and this is like in like the first act where he's like, you're not going to have to deal with this. It's subtle.
There's so much more to dig into these characters than what we're led on to until the last, like I said, 10 minutes. You start revealing who these guys really are. But yeah, around towards the end, you start realizing that you were picking up on things that you didn't even realize. That this Peter kid was very cold and calculated from the very get-go.
From the beginning.
Yeah.
And like,
but you don't realize what kind of guy he is.
No.
Never.
And they gave you subtle hints, like with the rabbit. You know, he shows his mom, and they're playing with the rabbit, and it's beautiful and nice and sweet. You know, he's trying to cheer up his mom because she's going through a lot. And then you get the next scene with the one girl from Last Night in Soho.
Strangely,
I forget her name. She's a phenomenal actress.
Was not billed at all. Like
I don't see her name on this.
Thomasin McKenzie.
Yes,
she's awesome.
There we go. Thomasin McKenzie. But she comes into the room.
Barely in it.
Barely, yeah. But comes into the room and he's dissecting the rabbit on the table, and you're like, whoa.
Yeah.
Like, this guy can play with the rabbit, be all nice, and then be like, yep, cut it and kill it. You know, but you don't put two and two together. He's obviously studying to be a doctor, right? So you're just like, okay, this is kind of normal. Then you start seeing him go out to the cows, start riding the horses out there, finding a cow that's obviously disease-ridden.
Right.
And cuts his hand.
And
he goes, oh, I've got some extra
It is
hide.
very, like, Norman Bates-esque to where this kid is, he definitely is somewhat of a sociopath, for sure. He's, like you said, he's always, no matter where he's at, you feel like he's always working a plan.
It's always turning.
Working an angle or something, no matter what. He didn't know what he was going to do with the anthrax. He just knew that this may come in handy at some point. This may, because
and the camera work for that was so awesome because it was something that stuck into my mind.
Well, the cinematography for this thing is
through the roof. Phenomenal.
If anything, it will be nominated.
It absolutely should be
best cinematography because it's amazing, and the landscape, like I said, is just everything you want from a Western. Yeah, obviously, and a lot more.
But that shot specifically, like. I saw the context. I saw the little blood while he's, you know, in the waters with the diseased hide, you know, trying to make a rope.
Oh yeah, at that point you knew he was dead.
And but that stuck with me. And then when his hand started going, I started putting all the pieces together, and I go, oh my God, I see it. I finally see it. Deep into this third act, the whole film was leading up to this very moment, very subtle yet very powerful. And that's how you want to write a screenplay, dude.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the film, I was like, wow, every second of this film was worth it.
Well, again, it's just so interesting. But you start to play with the idea of when did Peter know that he was going to kill? When did he figure that out? And at what point? Because the movie is ambiguous to where that is kind of left up to you. Yeah. And I've heard a lot of people say it was when his mother started drinking heavily because of how mean he was to her. Or like from the second when, because Peter, the movie is like an examination of like masculinity in the West, and
well, he was initially picked on by Cumberbatch for his lisp, for his
and the flowers. Frame. He takes this time to build these beautiful paper flowers, and
it's really impressive in the early 20th century.
And Phil, who's Benedict Cumberbatch, he destroys these flowers that he built.
He lit them on fire to smoke his cigar, which is pretty fucked up to do.
So I've heard some people theorize that was the moment, and that's very early on. But that was the moment that Peter knew, I got to take out this guy. Wow. Because Peter's whole thing is he saw alcohol kill his dad, and he refused to see alcohol kill his mom. So he was going to take out the element that was making his mom drink.
That's a good theory. That's a good theory, and I like that theory. I always assumed, and obviously that's why, as you said, it's ambiguous. You can literally pick whatever, but I don't know. For me, where I connected with it the most, and I called back to it after the fact, after revealing the third act, was when he told his mom, "You're not going to have to deal with him," and I was like, "Whoa!" Like I thought about that immediately. And I think that might have been also an area where he could have been like, okay, I'm going to do this. I don't know when, but I'm going to be scheming behind the scenes, you know?
Yeah. And like how we're talking about it like it is a thriller. You have no idea it's a thriller.
Let's talk about the romance side of this.
Yeah, I know, because that's the whole thing you're thinking.
That's where it throws you for an absolute loop. You know, Peter starts as a young boy, obviously.
It's so odd. He's... Again, you slowly figure out that Phil is gay, obviously, and that he was most likely groomed by this Bronco Henry guy, but you get that the love was real, that he really did love him, and
Well, and Phil talks about that too when he's talking to Peter and he's starting to open up to him. He goes, "Yeah, I was about your age when when Bronco Henry came into my life."
And at first, you get the sense that Phil Benedict Cumberbatch hates Peter so much because Peter is comfortable being who he is. He especially in the West, 1920s or whatever. Rough. So it's like
rough time.
But Peter, I think those white shoes, those symbolize like no matter what, I'm gonna be who I am. Yeah. And I think Phil hated that at the start because Phil so badly wanted to be anyone but who he really was. He wanted to be open about that he was gay and whatnot. So he hated Peter for that. Yeah. But then it becomes like becomes Bronco Henry, and now Peter's now Phil, and then it slowly like almost fall in love or whatever.
But I also love that because
but you have no idea where it's going.
No, you don't. And but it's slowly revealed over time. Obviously Peter's seems more interested in Phil, and not even on kill him aspect, but as a relationship.
Yeah,
is forming because he asks some direct questions did you love Bronco Henry? Did you this? Did you that?
Yeah.
And in his curiosity as a young male, dealing with potentially being gay, he's going to the river. He peeks in on Phil. He goes through his male nude magazines, and then he's at the river.
Yeah. Well, those Bronco Henry's magazines originally had
exactly.
his name on it. Yeah. And Phil is masturbating with Bronco Henry's
magazines.
But this.
And his scarf.
His scarf, yes.
Which is a really beautiful shot as well, the way they shot that.
Yeah, the whole thing. But yeah, and then you suddenly realize that all this is happening, but in Peter's mind, the whole time he's growing closer and closer, he knows he's going to kill this guy. Yeah. Even though they're growing closer and closer, he's just waiting for an opportunity. Which is wild.
It's wild and it's a little creepy, too. I got to be honest.
That's what I'm saying. That's what makes this movie so good is it crosses over into so many different genres. And normally, if a film does that, it feels like it's all over the place. But this one, it just feels really tight. Yeah. But yeah, it's...
And it also kind of led you down different paths, too, because you never really knew who the protagonist was, right?
Right.
At times it was the bad Phil, guy here. At times it's Peter... and then you're looking at Kirsten Dunst.
At time it's Kirsten Dunst,
yeah, Rose, where you're just like, maybe this is about her and kind of her awkwardness with dealing with, obviously marrying Jesse Plemons' character,
and you feel like there's almost like vanity to her because at points it feels like she only dislikes Phil because he's spending so much time with Peter.
At one point,
so then you think, maybe she's
her alcoholism gets worse,
and then you're like, well. They're not doing anything wrong, and now why is she so mad? So you start thinking that maybe she's the bad guy. She just wants to separate them because clearly she's very close with her only son. She's babied him and throughout his entire life.
Yeah, and she didn't like him either. Right off the bat, there was a very odd connection, I want to say, between these two, where you didn't know if something weird happened between them. Obviously Phil was gay, but it almost left you with kind of those weird, uncomfortable, rapey vibes, that she was getting off because she really hated him. And then he was doing creepy shit, like whistling when she's drinking in the alley.
Right. I think maybe, to me, in my mind, it was almost like he was more like her husband was. So she hated him immediately because I think she had a strong dislike for her husband because he was obviously an alcoholic as well and ended up killing himself.
That's a good point to make.
So I think maybe she kind of mirrored that because Jesse Plemons' character is like the exact opposite.
Complete opposite.
Super nice, super
a good man,
good guy. Exactly. Yeah. Super well and put together and whatnot. But that's not Phil at all. Mm-hmm. And also, Kirsten Dunst's character is like you second guess her motives because she wasn't rich, but Phil and his brother are very well off. They own a ton of cattle.
Well, they had the governor come to their house times. In the 1920s. It's a pretty big deal.
In Montana, though, there's like 8 people.
In 1920s, maybe. I think those 8 people owned all of Montana.
There's only 30 people in Montana today, so it's like, but yeah, they're very well off, and again, the dynamic between every character is it's just so wild and crazy. You're constantly guessing what's going to happen. But Phil at one point says, she's only marrying you for your money. And you think, oh, that could be a whole nother thing. And it ends up not going anywhere. No. Yeah, which I loved because it was so unpredictable. You never knew where this film was going to go. Also,
there's subtle scenes in this too, like with Peter leaving the barn but kind of staying and listening to the argument with Phil and George Burbank. And they're arguing back and forth, being like, your wife's as you brought up, obviously, only marrying you for your money. Your wife's an alcoholic. She can't handle herself. And Peter's sitting there at the door the whole time, too, just listening to all of that.
Yeah.
And that's when I started realizing, too, I'm like, dang, this kid is really taking in all the information possible.
Yeah, he's very cold and very calculated constantly. And another scene of another rabbit scene is when the rabbit is trapped and it breaks its leg, you know, and you don't see that. I mean, because Peter's very nice. The rabbit is injured, and even Phil's like kind of taken back by it.
He's just petting it.
He's petting, exactly.
Be silent.
It was a little predecessor of what was going to happen, of what's exactly. Yeah. He got close to that rabbit. He was very nice to it. And then when it was injured,
gone.
As the second he saw a weakness, and you get, again, with the camera work, it's all foreshadowing, because that scene also is the scene of him injuring his hand, cutting his hand. And you can tell Peter's taking note of that. Yeah. Like, he sees that, and then that is when I believe is when the plan immediately came into play of like, oh, I got the anthrax. I know his hand's fucked. Now we got to move. It's weird because it all makes sense after you see the film.
Right.
But when you're watching it, you're like, oh, my God, I have no idea what's happening. But, man, does it all come together in a nice little bow.
It does. It really does.
And you feel bad. You end up feeling bad for everyone involved. Phil, Peter. It's a tough time to be alive for anyone.
Yeah, all I'm hoping is Rose can just lay off the booze now.
She sobered up. She sobered up immediately. Yeah. So it was Phil.
Yeah. Well, we can all agree Phil was the problem. He needed to go, and Peter and everyone else is better for it.
But the writing of Phil, it's not one dimensional at all. You feel so bad for this guy that he is so clearly overdoing it with the masculinity because he's so fucking scared of who he really is.
Well, you do actually sympathize with him as well, because that's got to be that's got to be hard in the 1920s, not to live how you want to live, not to love who you should be able to love, but also dealing with this very rugged 1920s. I got to be the man here because my brother's a fatso. You know, dealing with that dynamic and everything surrounding him as well, losing someone that he loved at a very young age. So you do sympathize with that character, and you do realize, to a certain extent, not justifying it, but we understand why he is the way that he is.
Oh, absolutely. He's a very bitter man because he hates the man he is. Yeah. And you kind of get the sense that Bronco Henry was kind of like, he's like, if you're going to be this way, you got to act this way. No one can ever know. You got to act like the toughest guy on the fucking ranch. That way, no one will ever doubt like where you're coming from. Or whatever. Not even that, dude, but if you're gay, there's just... On a ranch, I don't know if you know, naked dudes everywhere.
Everywhere. They were playing in the river.
If you're gay, you're like, oh, this isn't not good.
There's a lot of temptation.
A kid in a candy store.
A lot of cheeks to stare at.
Not a single gal within 1,000 miles of that place.
No, I think they had the two maids and that was it. That's all they had.
And no one got near those fucking maids. They were the meanest fucking maids. Yeah, but so it's just a crazy dynamic the whole fucking movie is. But yeah, it's and that's what I was going into. I was thinking, oh, maybe it'll be this Brokeback Mountain-esque, or this romance, this hidden romance, but it never dives into that.
That's what I thought it
never gets into that.
I know. And again, great script writing, because it threw me for a loop. Because I was starting to see that develop, and I was like, okay, that's what this is going to be.
Yeah.
And like, okay, it's going to be powerful at the end. Because like, even that story alone, Cash, would have been a great story. This road to redemption for Phil, where he's just angry, bitter, broken man, and he finds new love, and is able to build and develop that relationship.
In the most unlikely places with Peter, yeah.
Yeah, and then just to have it all flip on its head. And again, it was crazy. It's a very unique film, this Power of the Dog.
Yeah, it's a lot of despair I was left with after seeing it, because it's like, again, so sad that Phil was getting close to maybe getting back to that happiness that he felt with Bronco Henry, which is the manliest guy ever, I'm guessing. That name like that.
Bronco Henry, are you kidding me?
But yeah, but he as soon as you see Faith, like the light at the end of the tunnel, like this one guy that could bring him out of the darkness is Peter. Peter ends up being the guy
into the forever darkness.
Yeah. Wild.
It is.
And I love, though, that last scene of him holding the rope, but with the gloves on.
Yeah.
And him keeping almost as a memento of his kill.
Which is what killers do.
Yeah.
And
putting it under
right under the bed.
Yeah, exactly. Like a trophy he's going to come back to later on. And it's
a little creepy.
A little bit
creepy. I don't know about this kid, bro. Someone's got to watch this guy.
It's sick. It's fucking twisted. But again, the writing is awesome. So,
yeah, I'm glad you found out this film was dropping. This was not on my radar at all. I had no idea this was dropping on Netflix. They did no advertising for it whatsoever. We didn't do a trailer reaction for it or anything.
But man, did they advertise Red Notice?
Yeah, they sure did.
It's on every commercial.
Which, in all fairness, was better than what I thought it was going to be. And I actually laughed
so you say. I haven't. I won't watch it. But
I know you won't. But I laughed through it. I thought it was pretty funny. But not a good film as far as filmmaking is concerned, but a fun one.
I'll give them that. I can't watch a film that was made for $200 million that looks so shitty. Bad. When a film like this, what was the budget on this?
The budget for this was 30 to 39 million.
Compared to Red Notice's $200 million, bro. This movie looks 1,000 times better than just the few scenes I've seen. This movie looks... Again, New Zealand, if I was going to shoot a film, any film, I would shoot it in New Zealand. It's just... New Zealand's kind of weird where you could make New Zealand landscape look like any landscape in the world somehow. They have such a diverse climate and everything. Yeah. You can make it look like Middle Earth, or you can make it look like Montana, which are two very different places.
Very different.
But yeah, I just love the location. The whole ranch out in the middle of nowhere looked so fucking awesome. It did. And peaceful.
And I love the wide shots, like the drone footage, I'm going to assume is what it was. But there were some really beautiful landscape scenes.
Yeah, just wide-angle landscape scenes that are incredible. And like I said, this film just takes its time, too. It's not in your face. It knows its pace. Yeah. It's, really good. It's going to end up being one of my top 10s.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. Absolutely. We got a tough list this year.
I was just thinking that.
Good films and we got to do that, too.
We got to do it
probably
soon.
over break.
Yep, we're going to do it soon, yeah. I know there's just so many films coming out right now, though.
I know. It's just
on it's the end of the year push, but it's 2021, so it's like the last 3 years are all being pushed.
All pushed in. Yeah. Can you imagine award season this year? It's going to be so hard to pick.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's going to be tough. We have a lot. We still have so much to see, too. Matrix, Nightmare Alley, Spider-Man, so much.
We have yet to even see Antlers yet, which is wild. Yeah.
It's another Jesse Plemons.
Yep.
Guy works hard.
Yes, he does. All right.
Well, the dogs are barking.
The power of the dog. Wow, that's poetic. The power of the dog. You hear those assholes?
They hated this movie.
I don't know why my wife couldn't release them 2 minutes later, but hey, it is what it is.
She said, I think we're good on this one.
I think we're good. Yeah, I think we hit that half an hour.
Release the hounds.
Yes, release them to bark. All right. Well, that is our review for The Power of the Dog. If you guys like what you've seen here, please be sure to smash that like button, comment below, subscribe to the channel, and hit that bell notification as we drop videos here every single day. Thank you so much for watching and listening. My name is Mason Knight. That is Cash Kraus. And until next time.
Bye.